All right, Morny, who is next?
Up next is I See Dead People.
All right, you all right, bro? I think he's muted. Do you have your push to talk enabled? I don't know.
Well, while we're waiting,
Sorry, mate.
Oh, there we go. I see dead people. How you doing, bro?
Apologies. Good. Yeah, the question is, do you think the dev team has actually done enough for the larger player base?
See, that's okay. So it's difficult because that's going to be a very sort of that's going to be a personalized thing, right? Because everyone's going to have a different level to how they feel like Blizzard has to treat them before they think that Blizzard has done enough. So I can only really reply to it in terms of how I see things. But there's going to be people that's like, nope, until Ian drops to his knees and gives me a blowjob personally, I will never forgive them. Now, in that case, fucking good luck. It's probably it's not forthcoming, but you can hold out hope, I guess. Poison Oni, by the way, thanks for the prime sub. Really appreciate that. Welcome to the DJ Nation. Appreciate you, fam. Thank you. Now, for me personally, I have never cared about, Blizzard making amends or Blizzard really apologizing for anything. The only time I have ever demanded an apology from Blizzard was after the lawsuits, which I felt they still really haven't given us, and after the content drought. So when we had that 9 months of content drought, those were the only two times I can remember in my entire time covering World of Warcraft that I demanded an apology, because I felt like that was really sneaky and just disgusting from Blizzard's side. Outside of that, all I have ever really expected from Blizzard is to make a good game. And when I look at Dragonflight, all I can do is I can compare it to what we've had, right? So I can compare it to what we've had and what I've hated, and based on what it has or what it doesn't have in common with what we've had, I can make a judgment call. Now, looking at Dragonflight, it has no borrowed power systems. It has no mandatory systems of any kind. Every single thing in the game is completely optional, and even the things that are completely optional it's completely cosmetic. So it just pushes it even further into the optional sort of track, if you will. And in my mind, that is such a huge improvement over Shadowlands and BFA, because it solves all of my problems that I had with Shadowlands and BFA. Because I'm going to be honest with you, on the face of it, if I remove the story portion of Shadowlands, I didn't mind Shadowlands. I thought the world was really beautiful. I really liked all of the zones. I'm going to be honest, I even liked the Maw. I didn't like the activities within the Maw, but as it looked, I didn't mind the Maw at all, like from an aesthetic standpoint. My issues with Shadowlands purely came down to the fact that I just dinged max level. Now I have to do a shit ton of dailies. I have to get all of my conduits. I have to do Torghast because I need all of the legendaries. But I also have to farm gold because these legendaries are getting stupidly expensive. Then I also have to do dungeons in order to get geared. I have to do my vault every single week. I have to raid. It's just too much. And that's just for one character. I haven't even touched any of my other characters, and I like playing other characters. So that was what put me completely off playing World of Warcraft in Shadowlands and in BFA. It's just too much shit that you're forcing me to do. Dragonflight has none of that. When I look at how Dragonflight is designed, it seems to be the kind of game that just wants me to step in and have fun. Which is when I loved WoW. Like, I loved WoW during Cataclysm and Wrath of the Lich King. Even Warlords of Draenor. I've said this before many times. I loved Warlords of Draenor because I'm a raider. So all I had to do was level a character, do a couple of dungeons, jump into raids. Easy does it, right? I was raiding on pretty much 9 or 10 characters during Warlords of Draenor, just because it was so much fun. And it was so easy to get my characters ready. And I live for those things. Now, to answer your question, to specifically answer your question, has Blizzard done enough? The answer is I don't know. it's gonna boil down to execution. Because Blizzard have never had a problem starting relatively strong. With BFA, they started very strong. With Shadowlands even, they started really strong. The beginnings of Shadowlands had all the promise of a great expansion. And then it fizzles out. And then we usually have this really big dip at the middle part of the expansion. And then Blizzard finishes strong. So 9.1 was a real big letdown. And then you had more fucking content droughts. 9.15 tried to solve a lot of the problems of 9.1, but again, wasn't enough, already too late, just not good enough. 9.2 solved most of the problems that people had with Shadowlands, but at this point, most people had already given up. You go back to BFA, you have the same thing. 8.0 was a pretty decent, it was decent. It was a decent launch. Most people were very excited for what the future of this game could be. 8.1 comes out, terrible. 8.2 comes out, even worse. 8.3 comes out and Blizzard is finally starting to fix the things that we complain about in 8.0. So the problem for me is not the start, it's how good can Blizzard execute on the entirety of the next expansion. And of course, I'm not going to be able to answer that until we have our hands on the expansion and we can start to identify some of the shortcomings. But I think as players, we should at least praise Blizzard for trying. It would have been so easy for Blizzard to say, well, fuck you. We're just going to do another borrowed power system. We're going to do another expansion the same way we did with Shadowlands. And we're just going to monetize harder. So we're just going to take the remaining player base that we have and we're just going to get more money out of them. I praise Blizzard for the fact that they said, let's do something completely new and let's see how this works. Let's see if this gets players back in. So on that alone, I say, yes, I think they've done enough. But, obviously be careful because you never know. Things could still go wrong and I could eat my own words, right? So yeah, I hope that answers your question, I see dead people.
Now you're fully muted. We can't hear you at all.
Yeah, I see dead people. I'm not hearing you.
My other question would be is, what do you think of this new mount collection that they've thrown in at the moment, like just as of in the past 24 hours?
Sorry, it was the mount, the new annualized. You're talking about the annual pass.
That's correct. Yeah.
Oh yeah. So I've sort of given up fighting it. I still won't buy it. That's the way I fight it now, is just by not buying it, just keeping my wallet to myself. I'm still not okay with it for the most part because so what's disgusting for me about it is if you can get people to sign up for an entire year, so you guarantee that you're going to have money for the next year, how can I trust that you're actually going to keep making the game good? So how long am I going to wait for 10.1? 6 months? 8 months? Because you have a year to play with, right? So you can really take your time with this one. So, and that's sort of my problem with it. At least when you have a monthly sub or a 6-month sub, you can keep Blizzard's feet to the fire. Because if they don't deliver new content within that 1 or 3 or 6 month time period, you can unsub, and that can hurt them. But once you've bought the 1-year sub, you're pretty much like, Blizzard doesn't need to care about you until, of course, that 1-year time period is up. So that's the only thing that makes me skeptical, but I realize that a lot of that skepticism comes from the last 2 years. And it's entirely possible that it is unfair and that Blizzard is just doing this because they need to keep the financial department happy. Because I feel like I'm obviously talking, like I could be talking out of my ass here, but I feel like there's two sides in almost every gaming company. And that's how it feels to me these days. You have the developers that really just want to make a good game. And then you have the financial guys that really want to see how far can they push it before they destroy it. And it might be that, people like Ian was like, okay, you know what? If we give you a 1 year, if we give you a bunch of mounts and stuff to tie to a 1 year annualized sub, will you get off our fucking backs, or are you going to make us push even more cash up bullshit? So we never know what's actually going on behind the scenes. I don't even know how much power Ian has to sort of reject some of these things. But overall, I've given up. I'm not going to make videos on, calling Blizzard out on this shit, because from what I can tell, the majority of players don't give a fuck. They want Blizzard to charge them more. They want Blizzard to take more things out of the game and put it behind paywalls. It sort of feels to me like there's a lot of players that play World of Warcraft that would not care if Blizzard removed every single mount from the game and put it on the cash shop. It feels like there's a lot of players that would be like, well, bro, you can just buy it with gold, and I can still buy my things with gold, And that's the end of the discussion. So, yeah. That's sort of where I am.
Yeah, because I'm seeing it. Sorry,
No.
I'm just seeing it as like a massive giant cash cow. Like it's becoming more and more of a cash cow as as time goes on.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. They're milking it for all it's worth. I don't think that's gonna last, though. I guess